Hello and welcome to this video and the terrible lighting that I have behind me. You are balanced on the washing basket, which is overflowing with washing that I need to sort out, but I figured while I'm sat here it also makes a good place to talk to you and start this video, which was supposed to be a vlog of London, but then we didn't do quite some of the stuff I was expecting us to do in London, so I didn't really film very much, but that's why we've been in the weekend. So I've now got loads of like sorting to do, so I figured while I'm doing said sorting you could come with me and I can have a chat with you. We can have a catch up on what's been going on while I do this. We have spent, as I say, the weekend in London. The main reason for that was to meet the new baby, which was lovely. It meant that Eloise could have some time with her cousins. She had a play and enjoyed herself and that, mostly. So we went down on the Friday after my driving lesson. Tied it in with her nap, which worked pretty well. She got a little grumbly towards the end when we got into traffic in London, but on the whole she was fine. We were staying in the Travelodge at Walthamstow because it's near where we needed to be, but also one of the cheaper options for hotels in London, which are not cheap. And we stayed for 2 nights. And the reason we stayed for 2 nights is so that A, we got more time with the family, but B, it meant that me and Pete could each have a night out rather than staying one night, one person getting to go out and the other person just sitting in a dark hotel room with a baby that's supposed to be asleep. So the Friday night Pete went out, I stayed in the hotel room. However, our original hotel room was so loud because the window wouldn't shut, and it's London and there's sirens everywhere and just general noise, and I had Eloise, who wasn't too keen with the idea of staying in a travel cot which didn't seem to have a mattress and was also broken on one of the sides, so she wasn't that fun. I did get her to sleep, but she woke up like an hour in and then got her to sleep again, and then 2 hours in, whilst it being really loud. So I had to text Pete being like, this is so loud, I'm hoping that when you get back you can shut the window, because I'd had a go. I tried every way that I could and couldn't get it shut, but then didn't know whether it was just me being stupid or weak or whatever, and that maybe Pete would be able to do it. So that's also, I had a small child with me, so moving rooms didn't feel like a very good option. I didn't know how I was going to get us both into a new room, so that kind of thing. So he came back about 11, maybe a little bit before. She'd just woken up again because noise, bed, all of that. He had a go at shutting the window, didn't manage it. So he went down to reception and was able to get us a new room, and actually it was a slightly upgraded room because we were just in a standard one with a cot put in it, whereas we got moved to a family room which was bigger, obviously. We didn't need the 2 additional beds that came with the family room, but that was the case. So at 11 we had to essentially pack back up. I hadn't really unpacked, but I had obviously got things out to get her ready for bed and get me ready for bed and all of that kind of stuff. Those things in the bathroom, all of that. So at 11 we then had to move rooms, which appeared to wake her up, so then she felt like it was morning or whatever, and then we couldn't get her back to sleep till 2 in the morning. And every time we put her in the cot she'd scream really loud, so obviously it was quite late. We were getting a bit worried about waking other people up in the hotel corridor and things like that, although there is an element of going, actually it's probably best we just have her cry for like 20 minutes and get her to sleep than keep trying that way. But yeah, we tried having her in bed with us for a bit, but she just kept like bouncing about and hitting us in the face and that kind of stuff. We did make the travel cot more comfortable. We basically put one of the spare duvets in the bottom of it. Possibly not the best idea in terms of like suffocation, but she's old enough now, she knows what she's doing. To make that more comfortable. So yeah, by 2 o'clock she managed to go to sleep, and then she did have a little bit of a lie and she woke up at like 8. So that first night was interesting, shall we say, and a bit tricky. So we were all a bit sleepy on that Saturday morning. I digressed though, because before that me and Eloise had gone to Nando's for dinner, just the two of us. She basically just ate chips, which wasn't ideal. I tried to order something that I thought she'd like, so I ordered like the mac and cheese, but that came with like piri stuff, and so it was a bit spicy for her, so she wouldn't eat that. I always get the sunset burger, but I took out the thing that I thought was the spicy bit, but even that, the like cream part of it was too spicy for her. So she kept trying to eat the chicken, but then not being able to, and then there was only like parts of the roll, like the bread roll, that she would eat. So she mainly lived on chips, which wasn't ideal. But yeah, and then obviously we did the whole bedtime thing. She was very good in Nando's though. It wasn't like she was bad, it was just she didn't eat a lot, but then she's not eating a lot anyway. So yeah, that was our first night, and not ideal way to start our little trip, but there we go. Right, I'm gonna go and get this washing in the machine and I'll come back to you for what happened on Saturday. I don't know why there's 2 suitcases. We only took that one. So I've got to sort out this side and this now. So yeah, Saturday, obviously we had it wasn't a slow start at all, but it felt slow. We had a little bit of breakfast and then went and met family in the park. So Eloise played on the swings and things. Obviously she hadn't had a good night's sleep. She wasn't in her best mood. She didn't portray herself in her best light. Not that she was naughty or crying or bad or anything like that, she just was a bit spaced out really. She also went on like this little carousel in like the shopping centre, and she likes all things swings, Pete the flinging her about, all of that kind of stuff, but she was sat on this horse holding on with one hand and just didn't move other than her eyes. She wasn't sure at all about it. I think if one of us was on there with her, she would have liked it and then wanted to go again and again and again. But as I say, that and the fact that she hadn't slept very well, it was getting to a point where she wanted to go for a nap again. Yeah, it was kind of amusing just watching her on it. So we did that and then had some food with them. Headed back to our hotel room to have a nap. We all had a bit of a nap. Unsurprisingly, seeing as none of us got a huge amount of sleep. And then originally I thought when she woke up we'd go and do something in London. Pete's aunt was also visiting the baby, so in the end we went back to their house after the nap before then coming back to essentially the hotel, because the tube station and the hotel are like right next to each other. That's why it's also in a really good location. Because we'd booked dinner at Flatiron in King's Cross, which is a steak place. I have been there previously. Did I film it? I might have done. If I did, I'll link that video for you. But it's a steak place that is on the, it's not cheap, but it's on the cheaper end for steak in London, and it's really good. So they give you like a little pot of popcorn and beef dripping first. We then had our steak. Again, we tried to get Eloise to eat some stuff. She mainly just ate chips. She basically lived off chips this weekend, which isn't what we're after, but hey, when you're away you just gotta go with it. And then they give you an ice cream to end, which is also a very nice touch, and of course she shared that with me because she shares all of her meals with me. I don't think I've eaten a full meal for a little while on my own without having to give some to her, but that is part of being a parent, I suppose. So yeah, and then as I said, we both had our evening out, so I went to see Hercules the Musical at Theatre Royal Drury Lane, which is just the theatre in Covent Garden. Previously had Frozen on in it, which again I've got a video, so I'll link that up from when I went to see that one. And I knew I wanted to go and see a show. I didn't really know what show I fancied because I'm not particularly up to date with what's in the West End anymore. But I knew Hercules was there. It's Disney, and I'm a big Disney fan, as you may or may not know. It is also in a theatre that I have seen every like long-running production that's been there since Oliver, which would have been in 2008, 2009? Must have been 2009. So I've seen everything that's been there since 2009. So we're talking Oliver, Shrek, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Oh, this is where my memory doesn't go very well. 42nd Street, Frozen, and now Hercules. I think it's 6. I may have missed one. But yeah, I've seen everything. So it felt fitting that I go and see this production too. Before going in, I'd heard very mixed things about it. Lots of people are a little disappointed with it and question why they took Frozen off to replace it with this. I can see that point. Frozen arguably is a better show than Hercules, but I quite enjoyed Hercules. There are lots of points in it that made me laugh. There are a few changes to it that I don't understand why they've done it, like Panic and Pain aren't called Panic and Pain, they're called Bob and Charles. Why? Why is that the thing? If someone knows the answer to that, please put it in the comments, because I'd like to understand that choice. And then there are just some of the like key lines from the films that right now escape me because it's been a while since I've seen the film, but they don't appear to be in there. Obviously the big songs, Going the Distance, Zero to Hero, the one that Meg sings, the titles escaped me. They're all in it and they were all great. But yeah, some of the choices I'm like, why did you change that from what everybody knows? It does have its similar like Disney magic. The way that they do the underworld is very clever. I liked that a lot. There's a lot of like puppeteering in it because of all of the beasts that Hercules has to slay, but also because of that's why it gets its sort of panto feel, which for a show like Hercules I kind of expect, because I don't see how you'd be able to do a Hercules show and not have it feel slightly panto. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not up there as any of my favourites, but I'm glad I've seen it. I did have the 2 understudies for Hercules and Phil. The Hercules didn't care whatsoever that it was the understudy. I think I've seen the normal, like the original, like the proper guy, the guy that got the role first. It's not first cover, but you know what I mean. The actual Hercules that they cast. I think I've seen him before in Prince of Egypt. And again, I probably have a vlog for that, so I'll add it in. But you'll know that is one of my least favourite shows. Not necessarily because of him, although I don't feel like he's a particularly strong singer. And one of the reviews, or a couple of the reviews I'd heard, is that his voice wasn't strong enough for things like Go the Distance. Whereas I thought the guy that I had, who was called Felipe, I can't remember his surname, a Latino guy from Colombia. I did a little research afterwards because I was curious to know if he'd been on before or not, just because of the reaction in the bows. He'd been on a few times, but I thought he was very strong in that department. I thought his singing voice particular was good, and he did a really good job with that song, which is a big song, big sing I imagine, and also quite iconic and one that people are waiting for. So I feel he did well with it. And as I said, I'm pretty sure I've seen the guy that is cast as Hercules, and I would agree without seeing it, I know that's mean, that he possibly doesn't have a strong enough singing voice, because that was my opinion of him in Prince of Egypt. If it is the same guy. If it's not the same guy, I apologise profusely. But it was when I realised that I had the understudy for Phil, because I hadn't actually looked at the cast or anything like that before, like the interval, I was a little disappointed, because it's, I can't remember his name, Trevor is how I know him. He played the genie when I went to see Aladdin, and he's quite big in the old musical theatre world. Trevor Dion Nicholas is supposed to be Phil, and just having seen a few of his performances on TV and in Aladdin, he would have been such a better Phil. The guy I had was good and he was entertaining, but Trevor would have been he would have made bigger things of it. He would have got more laughs out of it, yeah. So I was a little bit disappointed when I realised that it could have been him and it wasn't. But hey, as I say, I am never adverse to having an understudy. They've been cast for a reason. They're just as good. Why would they have them? It's not like you're seeing a lesser version of the show because they're in it. So yeah, that's my thing. The other sort of piece of like review that I'd seen consistently is that the Muses make this show, and I full-heartedly agree. The Muses were great. Again, there were stronger Muses to other Muses, so there's 5 women altogether playing the Muses. And I found myself drawn to sort of 3 of them, and then 2 of them got a little bit forgotten in my periphery, I guess. But wow, they can sing. And they really do make the show. So the Muses, if you've heard that review as well, very true when it comes to them. And they really do help tie it all together and bring it together. And just, I think if they were poor, the show would be poor. So glad they weren't bad, really. So I booked this ticket reasonably last minute. My seat cost me £35 directly through the theatre website. I did look at like Today Ticks and that kind of stuff, but found it was actually cheaper to go through the theatre website. I also used my Top Cashback and got some money from that, and if that isn't a thing that you use, I'll leave my link in the description below. Basically, you go through, you click their sort of link to take you to the website, and then once you've paid, you get some money back. So I think I got like £1.30 or something back for my Hercules ticket, because the theatre is on that. If you ever want me to talk about it more, I will do so. Just let me know in the comments. But yes, so I booked my ticket reasonably last minute. There was like 1 seat left at 35 quid, and it said it had restricted view. I was in the Royal Circle, row A, right at the end in seat 45, I think it was. And yeah, there was the lighting rig and then like the railing, because there's a gap, so they have to put a railing there so that you don't fall off it if you stood there. As I'm talking, I'll put in like a picture of my view and things like that. It didn't really affect me at all. Like, yes, it was restricted if you sat back in your chair, but if you leant forward slightly, you got a pretty full view of the stage. There was a bit of, I don't know, this side, my left-hand side, don't know whether that's stage right or stage left, that was a little obscured occasionally, but as I said, just lean and you got most of it. And I don't feel like I missed any of the show from where I sat. Did get a slightly sore back because I did lean forward for the whole thing. I probably didn't have to, but I did because I just wanted a clear view. But yeah, it wasn't restricted at all. So if you're ever looking at it and you're like, oh, I wonder whether that's any good, I personally didn't find it an issue in a 45 in the Royal Circle. So yeah, that's what I did on Saturday. I headed to the theatre, had a great time. Obviously would have loved to have had someone with me, particularly my brother. That would have been fun, but I will happily go by myself, as you well know. So yeah, that is my thoughts on Hercules. I've put these into piles. I now need to actually move and put them into rooms, so I'll come back to you for Sunday's little wrap up. There we go. that's now clear. Let's now go down to the chaos of the kitchen. So this is the current kitchen chaos. After we basically dumped everything in here last night and did the washing before we left. So I just need to try and sort all of this out. So yeah, oh, also the dishwasher's probably full, so I need to do that too. So yeah, I'm gonna have my biscuit and then I'll talk to you about Sunday. I did not think that was going to work quite as well as it has. Your balanced in Eloise's bottle drainage thing looks like cactuses. And that works surprisingly well as a camera, tripod, holder, whatever you want to call it. So Sunday, again, we had a much better sleep, thankfully. She slept really well that day. Didn't even wake up when I came in from the theatre, which was... I say that's down to my stealthiness. She might have just been tired in the sleep. So again, we had some breakfast and then we met up with family so that Eloise and her older cousin could play in a... It's basically like a role play thing, like one of those little cities where they have like different rooms of like the cafe, the shop, the builders, whatever. So they played in that. So it was our morning, and then again we went back to theirs for some food and then get her in the car so that she could nap as we headed up to my parents to pick up Jeff, because Jeff's been with them. So they came up last weekend, Pete was away, so it was just me and my parents who went to Western Park Museum. It's actually pretty good for small people. Here's a picture of Eloise in a very fetching hat. But because they were here for the weekend, it made more sense that they just took Jeff for the week, and then we only had to come up from London to there to pick him up, rather than driving to them to drop him off and then driving to London and then doing the same the other way. But it does mean we haven't had Jeff for a week, and that just screws up my movement entirely. I just don't move if Jeff's not here. That's probably something I need to think about, because my physical health should not be reliant on a small dog, but currently it very much is. But yeah, so we went to theirs, got there probably about 5 o'clock, had a roast dinner with them, which was very nice. Always nice having a roast dinner. Don't get one very often these days. I mean, we could make one, but we don't. And then Eloise could have a little time with my mum, dad, granny and pops and her uncle Adam again. So yeah, and that was the weekend. So as you probably could tell, there's a lot of being with family, and I don't tend to film when we're with our extended family, which is why I didn't film a huge amount when we were in London, which is why I had it in this version rather than a vlog version, which was my intended, but it just didn't happen that way. Hello, me from the future. So I'm just editing the London video that you've just seen, obviously, and originally when I filmed it I also added in some stuff about Eloise and Prime Day, but as this video is already long, I think I'm going to end it here, and that's going to go in the next one. So if it's already out, I don't know which order I'm going to put them in. If it's already out, I'll link it up here. If not, it'll be the next video to come if you're interested in Prime Day and all of that kind of stuff. But I think I'm going to end this one here, because I think you've probably sat and listened to me for long enough. And if you have got to this point, thank you very much for listening to me ramble on about London. We did have a good weekend, and as I said, it's a bit more difficult to film when we're having particular sort of family time rather than tourist time. So yeah, thank you for persevering with this video. If you have enjoyed it though, do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!